So one of the things you might be wondering is, as a researcher, how do you research, or what does research look like? And part of that depends on what question you're asking, what big question or what little question you're asking. But the other thing depends on what type of research you do. So within geoscience, which is the subject that I study, the big subject that I study is geoscience. The kind of smaller subject within that is paleontology, which is the study of ancient life. And I study ancient ecosystems from, it's called the Pleistocene epoch, which is also known as the last ice age. It wasn't really that long ago, only about tens of thousands of years old. And so one of the things that I do as a researcher is I do field work, which means that you aren't doing work within a lab in a building. You're going out into the desert, usually here in Nevada, and you're looking for clues. So some of the clues that we look for are fossils themselves. So we could look for the bones, the teeth, different parts of an animal that are left behind. Another thing that you could look for are clues in the rock record. So a lot of rocks that paleontologists look at are called sedimentary rocks. These are rocks that are made up of little pieces of other things like sand, clay. It could be pebbles and gravel cemented together. And so these rocks usually have the fossils in them. You're not really going to find very many fossils in igneous rocks that come from molten lava, because all those bones in there probably would melt. And you're really not going to look in other types of rocks that are going to be formed deep, deep within the earth where there's a lot of heat and pressure. So we're mostly focused on sedimentary rocks. So you can look for things like clues to what maybe habitat or environment that animal was living in. Was it living in the sea? Was it living in a river? Was it living next to that type of environment on a beach? There's lots of clues that we can look for in the rock record to tell us a lot about the fossils that we find. Because it's not only important to look for what even big animals were living there, like a big dinosaur or maybe a crocodile, but you're looking for all of the animals that lived in the habitat and even all the plants that lived in the habitat. Because when you think of describing a habitat today, you don't want to just focus on one animal or one tiny little thing in that habitat. It's a whole system together. And so you want to know all of those things as much as you can. And we're not going to know every single little thing because we don't have time machines to take us back and look and see with our own eyes, but we use clues like detectives to try and figure that out as much as we can.